Excel time.
Hey, that's right. It's time for another Dueling Excel podcast. I'm Bill Jelen from MrExcel. I'll be joined by Mike Girvin from ExcelisFun. This is our episode 191, Network Hours Spanning Midnight. Hey, welcome back to the Dueling Excel podcast. This is a question that I'm sure that we've dealt with years ago, but it'll be interesting to see if there's new ways to do it, given that we have let and power query. So, Mike, the question today, this is from Sanjeev. He has a start date and time and an end date and time, and he needs to figure out the number of work hours between the two. And the company that Sanjeev works for, their shifts, they start at Monday at 5 p.m. and go to Tuesday at 4 a.m. and then repeats Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. This is the thing that really drives me crazy, because that means that we need to check Monday from 5 to midnight and then Tuesday from midnight to 4 a.m. There's a whole bunch of things that we have to check for here, and then a little part of Saturday that we have to include as work hours. Now, complication, Sanjeev doesn't have Microsoft Office 365. He has Excel 2016, so no let or dynamic arrays, at least when I was solving it. And then Sanjeev says, my company says that 3 hours and 36 minutes should be reported as 3.36. Well, that's going to drive me crazy. All right, so first thing, I realized that having shifts that span midnight complicate everything, because then instead of just 5 shifts, you essentially have 10 shifts because you're breaking them apart. So my first step is I'm going to take all of Sanjeev's times and I'm going to subtract 4 hours and 1 second from them all, right? And then it becomes really simple. I just have 5 shifts that I have to worry about from Monday at 5 p.m. to midnight. And then it's just Monday through Friday, right? So I'm going to restate this, Mike. This is my question now. We need a formula to figure out how many hours between 1500 and midnight on Monday through Friday. Network days is back in play because we don't have to worry about Saturdays and Sundays, although it'd be really nice if we had a network hours. And the rules for the duel, use anything in Microsoft 365 Insider's Beta, so let, absolutely. XLOOKUP, go for it. Dynamic arrays, yes. And, reporting 3.36 as 3 hours and 36 minutes, it's just nonsense. But what I'm going to do is I want to fix that with a custom number format of bracket H bracket .MM. So we're still going to be reporting this time. It's just going to look the way that Sanjeev's manager wants it to look. All right, so here's my start. We have these different examples. Sanjeev gave me a few of these to trip me up, and I added more to handle all the other things that could trip us up. And my plan, so step 1, backdate everything by 4 hours. Break out the day from the time using the INT function. Is it the same day? That seems like a simpler case. I want to be able to handle that first. And now, after the fact, I'm wondering if this decision complicated things, if I should have just ignored this. And so I don't want this to cloud your judgment, Mike. Okay, then break out the time from the day using mod, 1. Handle the simple case of same day. It's ending time minus starting time. But if the starting time is before the workday starts, you want to use the later of those two, so the max of those. Then if it's not the same day, how many whole work days are there? Multiply that by 9 hours a day. And then how many hours on the first day? So that's midnight minus start time. But again, start time or 1500, whichever is later. And then for the end day, the last day, it's the end time minus 1459, but it can never be negative. I don't know why they would ever end it before the workday. I can imagine something where someone stays past 4. You know, I don't know. Who knows? And then sum all the times format with H.MM. All right, so we'll run through these formulas really quickly. Take the original time minus 4 hours and 1 second. Take the original end time minus 4 hours and 1 second. Simple enough. That's step 1. Easy. Step 2, the adjusted start date. So getting rid of the time, getting rid of the 1459 and backing up to 0.00. I take the int, the integer function of both of those. Step 3, is it the same day? So is this F9 equal to G9? If I was able to use let, this would be really handy, I think. Okay, step 4, break out the time from the day. So right here we have the date portion. Oh, now, why didn't I just subtract this from that? That would have been easier, but instead I used the mod function because it makes me look geekier, I guess, right? The mod of D9, 1, that gets rid of the whole days and gives us just the time and the end time. Okay, now, the easy case, to me, it seems easy, if this is the same day, so if H9 is true, then we're going to take the end time minus the start time. But we want to make sure that the end time is never greater than 23:59:59 and that the start time is never earlier than 14:59:59, right? And you see that there's only a few that happen on the start day, but for those, wow, we're done. All right, step 6, whole days. We try and figure out the number of net work days from the earlier date to the later date. And if you think about it, let's say that something came in on Monday, they worked on it part of Monday, all of Tuesday, all of Wednesday, and then part of Thursday. Net work days is going to return 4 days. So I have to subtract 2 from that, and then make sure that I never get a negative number of days. If it came in on the same day, I'm going to end up with a negative 1 there. And then multiply that by 9 hours, like that, right? So that's the whole days. Almost done now. The first day is, so if it's not the same day, take basically midnight minus the time that it came in, never earlier than 14:59. For the last day, it's the time that they finished minus the start time, 14:59. And then simply just add everything up. So K9 plus L9 plus M9 plus N9, and to make Sanjeev's boss happy, Control-1, custom number format of H in brackets .MM. Normally we would put a colon there. And I originally thought about actually trying to figure out the number of hours, the number of minutes, and building something that would look right, but then it's not going to total correctly. We really need this to be able to total correctly, all right? So that's basically my answer. But unfortunately, I don't want to send this back to Sanjeev and tell him that you have to use all of these columns all the time. So then this is just the basic Excel combining formulas down. So combining the first and last day into a single formula. See, we had if not H9, that was for first day and last day. So now it's just a simple formula. If not H9, then do the red part, do the blue part. All right, so we have 1 column less. Put the adjusted end into later formula. So that was had been in E9. It was that formula, and it's referenced twice. The end time was referring to E9, and the adjusted end time was referring to E9. And now I've taken that formula and put it into those 2 formulas. And then move the adjusted start into the adjusted start date and start time. I'm not going to go through all of these. You get the basic gist of what's going on here. Just over and over, expand the same day formula, delete the same day, combine if, make the first and last formula be the value if false clause in the same day. So this was one where we had a formula where we're saying if it's the same day, then do this, otherwise 0. And then another one saying if it's not the same day, then do this, otherwise 0. So I took the blue clause and the red clause and combined them into one big monster formula right there. Delete the adjusted start date column that had been in D9. It has to go into whole day. So we take that clause, put it in where D9 was. We get that formula. Delete the adjusted end date. That clause goes into D9. And D9 is moving over left one. That's why these always seem to be working on D9. Delete the start time that had been in D9. So that blue clause goes in there and there, getting that long formula for a new same day first and last. Same thing, delete the end time. That formula goes in there and off the screen. And then the final formula, we take the same day first and last plus whole days. Had been adding those up in a new column, just add them up in one big formula like this. And then I love that email that you write back. Hey, Sanjeev, yeah, just try this formula here. Like, I was able to just write a formula like that. And in the old days, before Power Query, before dynamic arrays, I think this was pretty much the way that we had to do it. All right, so Mike, now let's fast forward from Excel 2016 into what we have today. What can you come up with?
Thanks, Mr. Excel. Wow, that is a crazy way to have to do time. I wish they had individual timesheets with each day. Now, the coolest thing about your solution was the simple fact that you subtracted 4 hours to get the dates into one day. That really does make it a lot easier. Now, I did it in individual pieces before I did the let function. And I took the whole column, and instead of using the time function, I subtracted the time value, 4 divided by 24. I did that for both columns. And then we needed just the date, so we used int on the whole column, and it spilled down. We did that there. We checked the 2 spilled arrays. Are they the same? Then we use the mod. That gets just the time value. We calculated the number of work days, excluding Saturday and Sunday. And because we have to do individual calculations on the start day, which has a start time, and end day, when there's more than one day, we subtracted 2. For time on day 1, we went ahead and checked, is that true? That means there's only one day. And instead of using the min and max together, I checked for the end time value. Please give me the one in the middle between 24 hours, which is 1, 1524, or the actual value. And then I subtracted the max of the start time or 1524. And then a 0 gets deposited in the cell when there's more than one day. Time for the weekdays. I checked, are the weekdays less than 1? If that's true, then 0. Otherwise, just take like this 5 right here times the maximum number of hours you can work, which is 9 divided by 24. Time for the first day, I went ahead and checked, is it the same? If it is only one day, then we want 0 here. Otherwise, we have to take 24 hours and subtract not the start time, but the max of the start time, or 1524. The last day is similar, but we're dealing only with the end time, so we take the max of the end time, or 1524, and then subtract 1524. Then we can add the 4 parts, putting it all together in let. Well, let allows us to define a variable. There's the name, and then define that variable. And we get to use that variable throughout the rest of the formula, and it only has to calculate one time. Max hours. Adjust time downward, 4 hours. Then I defined adjusted start date. There's the only cell reference we're referring to, minus the 4 hours. Same thing for end. Then just start date, there's the int. Just end date, we use int. Just start time, I use the mod. Just end time, I use the mod again. Then we did our logical test. Is the start equal to the end date? Then we calculated number of weekdays and subtracted 2. And then time, when there's only one day, we say if, and we use our variable same day. And then the median looks at 1, 1524, or the end time. That gives us the correct end time, and then we subtract the correct start time, max of our just start time, or 1524, otherwise 0. Then the time for the weekdays, we say if number of weekdays less than 1, then 0. Otherwise, number of weekdays times 9 divided by 24, the max hours. Time for the first day. If same day, in this case, if it comes out true, we want 0. Otherwise, 24 hours minus the max of our 1524, or just start time. Time for the last day. We run our same logical test. Otherwise, the correct end time is the max of 1524, or just end time. And then we subtract that 1524. Finally, total hours, we add everything up. And as the only non-defined variable in this whole formula, we'll just display that last defined variable. Then we enter it and copy it down. And then, of course, we use that time number formatting with the square brackets. This was a wild one. I had to get some help from Mr. Excel, build all the pieces in the sheet, and then mash it all together, because look at this. That is one column. That's a bunch of columns. All right, I'll throw it back over to Mr. Excel.
That is a wild formula. The let function is new in Microsoft 365. As I look at my formula and your formula, Mike, either way, whoever Sanjeev hands his workbook off to, Sanjeev moves on to another job, and 2 years from now, the next person is going to hate both my solution and your solution because they're just insanely long. But what I really loved was your use of median to avoid my whole issue with yours just gets the one in the middle. That's really brilliant. And what we really need here is, instead of network days, we need network hours. And it's funny, I went out to Google and I searched for network hours function Excel. And while there were several hits, one of the hits was right at the Mr. Excel message board, going back to 2013, SHG and Barry Houdini using that median trick. It's one that I wasn't aware of, and I'll have to try and tuck that one away for next time. You know, Mike, I think this is one of those ones where someone watching this video is going to say, what are you guys doing? There's something insanely easy with either Power Query or dynamic arrays. I actually kind of had an idea of a dynamic array that would look up every minute and some sort of a range version of XLOOKUP or VLOOKUP that said, is that minute counted or not? But, you know, I headed down this method here. Anyway, Mike, it was great to do another Dueling Excel podcast. We'll have to start to make this a regular thing. If anyone watching sees a better solution, please, down in the YouTube comments, give us your ideas on how to make this simpler. I want to thank Sanjeev for sending this question in, and I want to thank you for stopping by. We'll see you next time for another Dueling Excel podcast from Mr. Excel and Excel is Fun.
Formulas for VBA, Control Shift Enter or a macro way. Well, there's Mike G on the CSE, Billy J getting down with the VBA. Oh my, it's a Dueling Excel guy. Stand by. It's a Dueling Excel time. It's Dueling Excel time.